All right, amigos, I'm Jared Definition, and welcome back to the NextDay Nomad Podcast, where every week I will bring you the most valuable tips to becoming location independent. Whether it's talking to other digital entrepreneurs, industry leaders in remote work, or my expert advice on how you can achieve freedom. So grab that boarding pass and buckle up, baby, because it's time to create your life full of freedom and adventure. Let's go. 20 years from now, you'll be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the ones you did. So throw off the bowlines, sail away from the safe harbor and catch those trade winds in your sails. Explore, dream, and discover. And that is by Mark Twain. And that is so important today because I want to talk about why just getting out of your comfort zone and just challenging yourself by being in a new surrounding is so important. And it is one of the best educations that you can get in your life because you learn from other people, you embrace other cultures, and you just learn and connect with people from all over the world. And that's why today I brought on a guest that is somebody who may not be a digital nomad or an expat, but somebody who embraces travel. So welcome back to the NextDay Nomad Podcast. I'm your host, Jared Definition, and today I am joined by my good friend, Zachary Gulka. Zach is an actor from Vancouver and as well as a bartender and is currently on a scuba diving adventure in Koh Tao, Thailand. Zach has been in Vancouver for, I want to say, over a decade now, and you have been traveling on and off for quite a while. But I think that it's, when we spent some time in the Dominican last year, we talked about how, travel is like one of those best forms of education. So I want to just obviously welcome to the show and just maybe talk to us about like your journey and how you're in Thailand right now and what that's doing for you.
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I mean, Thailand was actually something, in particular that I think 2 years ago, the idea of Thailand actually kind of came to be because I don't know what happened, but I've always traveled with my family. I've always enjoyed the ocean. I've always enjoyed the water. Living in Vancouver, I'm near the water. Whenever I'm not near the water, I feel like a little, I guess, locked in, like a little uncomfortable. I think just being near the ocean's always been kind of important to me. And so I grew up strong swimmer, all that stuff. Never in my life had like a fascination with diving really at all. And it just kind of hit me one day, like, maybe scuba diving would be cool. All of a sudden, all the documentaries I were watching were about diving or about sharks or about fish or about like, it was just like people would be like, oh, I saw this really good new movie. And I was like, there's a really interesting shark documentary. Like, it's just like the only thing that all of a sudden kind of interested me. So I was like, okay, I got to take my open water course. I got to, try diving and go through that. And I did that 2 years ago in Bayahi Bay in the Dominican Republic. And from then on, it was just like, I love this. Like, I adore this. I have to do more of this. So returned the following year to Bayahi Bay and Punta Cana, Bavaro, like with you, obviously, like you were there with your now wife. And I was just doing a bunch of diving, just enjoying it, kind of pushing my limits, doing some things I probably shouldn't have been doing, but under like, safety. So there was safety, there was instruction, but it just affirmed to me like, okay, that thing that I wanted to do in Thailand, I got to do it. I have to do it. So I planned a 6.5-week trip to Thailand. 2.5 to 3 weeks of that was just kind of bouncing around. A couple days in Bangkok. I was in Chiang Mai up north for a week. Did a bunch of fun and amazing things there. Got to feed a baby elephant and, zip line and crazy, just little things like just all travel, meet a bunch of amazing people, both travelers and, locals. And from there, I kind of went down to Khao Sok National Park and I got to see the Chiao Lan Lake and swim there and just do a bunch of cool stuff. So I got this whole experience. Couple other places as well before actually making my way to Koh Tao. And the plan was Koh Tao for a month. I've been in Koh Tao now for almost 3 weeks and I have just over a week left and I've been diving every day. I've, since getting here, I've actually certified myself as an advanced diver. After that, I actually went on to do my deep diver specialty course. with that, I also actually got my enriched air and nitrox certification so that I can do different blends of oxygen, basically spending more time at different depths, or potentially just doing more dives throughout the day. It just opens up a world of possibility when you're breathing a different blend of oxygen. And then I'm actually this coming week doing my wreck specialty as well, so I can actually enter and navigate through shipwrecks. And yeah, just every day has been an absolute joy. On days when I'm not studying or on coursework, I'm actually just diving for fun and enjoying myself. And like I was saying to you earlier, I've had like 2 days off. Maybe this is like my third day off of diving since I've been here. So it's been an indescribable experience. Like everything I wanted to be in more so far.
That's amazing. And now, like when we're talking about like getting out of your comfort zone and like you just discovering this like new passion of yours, you know, you're a passionate guy. I know you personally, and you're a passionate guy. You when you go into something, you're like type of person that goes all in. You've done it with acting. You've done it with like, obviously, you know, in your bartending career, you're great at that. You just have that ability and that aura to try to just like go for it. Now, what's been one of the challenges that you've faced? Obviously, you know, you're away from home for, you know, almost 7 weeks, exploring a new country. You're flying solo, you know. Have you had any challenges, or is it just you're at that point in your life now where it's just like every little experience is just, it's what it is, and you're learning something new?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's the challenge for me is I think like the more time I spend, you know, in Vancouver home, like I'm somebody who I actually really do value like habits and, you know, routine and you know, like I'm a pretty habitual person as well. So it's interesting, like when I'm leaving, there's always like that part of me that's like, you know, I feel pretty safe in Canada. I feel pretty used to Canada. I'm pretty, what I could get hurt there, or I could get sick there, or I think like, you know, all the little like what ifs and the little like anxieties kind of creep into your head that like, you know, like I'm so afraid of snakes. There's like Thailand's home to, like the most like snakes in the world. And a lot of them venomous. I haven't seen one snake since I've been here. I haven't even worried about it. It's just crazy the fear that I think develops in and around spending a long time somewhere new on your own. Because like I travel, like for the most part, all my travels independent and solo. So there's like that. I think that the initial hurdle, but it's like as soon as I kind of get here, I'm thrown into an environment that I don't really know, and that's when the learning begins. That's when the comfort begins to grow, and it grows fast, honestly, as well. I find after like 2 to 3 days somewhere, I'm already like showing people around, it feels like. And I just think the challenge for me is, you know, kind of, I don't know how to say it exactly, but just getting over my own kind of like silly little fears, like in the beginning. It's also like, you know, stepping away from my routine, understanding that, okay, like I'm not going to have my routine for a bit. And it's interesting because part of me misses that for sure. Like I miss my coffee shop, I miss my bed, I miss my, you know, my friends back home, and that stability. But at the same time, like you're gonna have to drag me out of Thailand, bro. Like you're gonna have to drag my fingernails will be gone. Like, cause like I'm gonna like, I don't want to leave. Like
I know.
I don't want to leave. I want to stay here, and I want there to be, you know, a possibility to remain here longer, for a longer period of time. So yeah, I think like the battle and the challenge for me is just, I think potentially, giving up that stability, finding a way to like give up that stability, but then, you know, trading it for something that I think is like so much more valuable, to be honest, and like being able to create more of a stability and a comfortability and a routine here. Cause that's what I've done. That's what I've done here. I mean, when I was traveling, I felt like I'd been, you know, in Chiang Mai, and here it's like, oh, I've been gone. I feel like I've been gone a year because it was a new place every day. It was all this stuff. But when I settled into routine here, like I've been here for like almost 3 weeks. I feel like I got here yesterday. Like it's time has just been moving because I have that routine. I have that habitual stuff. I'm doing those things that I love, and it's not a new place every day. It's the same place every day, but it's a place that I love and a place that I feel like I could call home one day.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when you get to that place where there's new challenges every day, and getting into that routine is amazing, because like I'm in that routine right now, in Da Nang. You know, I'm working late in the night, but then I'm up and it's, hit the gym. I'm doing 2 workouts a day with 75 hard. I'm going to a coffee shop, usually the same. I'm going to a co-working space around like 10 p.m. and I'm there till 2 in the morning. And then I come home and I do a little bit more work, and then it's time for bed. But every day I'm on the beach. Every day I'm on the boardwalk. Every day I'm in the gym. Every day there's just something new. And then on the weekend, it might be a little bit different, less work, but more adventure, where we'll go and sightsee. We'll go and see some of the temples around here, some of the landmarks, etc. So that's, I know exactly what you mean. But like when you got over there, or maybe let's maybe even back up even further. When you took that first solo trip, that very first one, what was one of the biggest things that you learned about yourself? Because I feel like a lot of people, because you mentioned something about the Thailand one, how they got some of the most venomous snakes and all this stuff, and you kind of create this narrative in your head. And I think, no, I'm not saying you specifically, I think as individuals, as humans, we do that. I do the same thing about like, coming over here and, I'm terrified of spiders and snakes.
We had
but
that
like, you're
talk
right.
actually, like about like you're
I
like
know.
on the plane to Vietnam or to like I'm headed here, and I was like to Bali you're going to, and I was like, yeah, I'm about to go to
Yeah.
Thailand. I was like, are you a little freaked out? I was like, yeah, it's a little scary, bro. Like it's a little scary to you, like going to a place you've never been, and you were going without Olga, so it was just you, and I was on my own. So we're going to this place that like it is, and 100% is, no matter who you are. If you're telling me like, nah, I don't even think I'm like, I don't believe you, A, and if it's true, then I envy your life, because it's normal to worry. It's normal to create the reason not to do this thing. That's why people say to you, like, you're crazy. Like 6 weeks, that's crazy. And it's like, why? Like, because
why is it crazy?
Exactly. Like, why is it crazy?
Limited thinking.
Because they've got the, they're afraid.
Yeah.
They're afraid they'll never do the thing you do, and they should. It's like, you might love it.
100%. Like, what's been the biggest surprise? I guess, like, let's rephrase that question. What's been the biggest surprise about traveling solo from the first time you did it? No matter if it was like a week trip or 10 days to 3 months, whatever it is, what's been the biggest surprise that like you thought was true that turned out to be just like, this is like not so bad. Like, like for all, and I mean, I'll tell you mine is, the first time you go away somewhere by yourself, I was so surprised with how much, I guess, encouragement. I don't know. There were, I felt like I was like, I could lift a mountain, because you're faced with like that challenge of like, okay, I'm by myself. I'm more of like, not say introverted, but like if I don't go out and push myself out there, I'm not a person that just attracts people to come, and like, I'm not the life of the party. Right. So for me, I needed to like put myself out there, and some of the best nights and some of the best conversations I've had in my life were with complete strangers, being in a completely new country, completely new environment. And that was probably the biggest surprise, was connection that you make when you're traveling solo. That was probably the biggest thing that I found.
Yeah, that's, I think yours is going to bleed into mine a little bit. But my first solo trip ever, like true solo trip for like a fairly long period of time, was actually to Peru. And I think for me, the most surprising thing was, it was actually at a very unique time in my life. It was before COVID, like just before COVID. I'm talking, got home 2 months later. It was like, did you hear about Washington? Like literally 3-4 months later, the world was shut down by the time I got back. Like not even. So at that time in my life, all of my best friends that I had known from acting and just life in general, my best friend in the world was away in Australia filming a project for like 6 months. So he was gone for a while. The other one had moved to LA. My other one was in a new relationship, and we were just kind of drifting apart a little bit. Not in a bad way, just not spending as much time together anymore. So I felt like I had lost my community. And I don't want to get too much into where I found a new community. But long and the short of it is I found another community that at the time, I think I was a little bit desperate for. And it was a community in which I had people around me. I felt like I had a lot of support, but what I realized by the end of it was that I didn't really have the support that I thought I had. I didn't have the permission to be myself that I thought I had. It felt like I was walking on eggshells, and I had kind of lost track of who I was. And packed up my bags, booked the trip to Peru, decided to climb the Inca Trail, do all that, see a bunch of other things. And it was scary. It was definitely a scary feeling. This was my first trip by myself to a place like a different country, a different time zone I had no idea about. I was scared I was going to die. Like that it's like, what if I die there? Like, that's how far it's like, I'm going to get robbed and killed. Like, that's how far but it's like, bro, the people there are better than the people in Canada. Like, they're more kind, for the most part. It's more safe. Like, everything was just amazing. And the worst thing that's going to happen to you, I feel like, and I can't speak for everybody, that bad things happen everywhere. Okay. There's bad people everywhere. Bad things happen everywhere. But as a rule, people are just going to try to help you. People just want to people are there to help you, to be kind to you. And they welcome you with a smile. And the people that I met there traveling, that were also traveling from all these different places in the world, bro, I found my community on that trip. Now, they weren't my forever community, but they showed me, just through being themselves and allowing me to be myself 100% unapologetically. And I had that same experience in the Dominican Republic a year ago with you, with Olga, and, with our friends, Emilio and Becky and other people that we met there. I find that same experience is that I am able to unapologetically be myself 100% when I am away and traveling and meeting other like-minded people. And I don't have that in Canada. It's all negative. It's
judgmental.
And judgmental. And sometimes people can be excited for you. That does happen. But for the most part, like, dude, I'm not going to meet my future wife in Canada. Like, I know that. Like, I have to travel. Like, I have to, because I got to open myself up to the possibility of meeting other like-minded people that want a life like me. And I can't find that really in Canada. So it's like, that's not the purpose of my trip and my travels, obviously. But I feel like I'm closer here to being the person that I want to be fully, like the most authentic version of myself. And I get to meet so many people that I honestly feel like I'm the person, like, I'm the me that I feel like most people in Canada will never get to see. I don't actually even know why that fully is, but it's just the amount of peace and joy and contentment that I feel when I'm here. And that's not to say that, if you have the odd thing that you're working on or all that, like, that stuff comes with you, bro. Like, you don't get to leave that home. Like, your problems travel with you. But I just find that there's so many more, like, avenues and networks here, like the ability to kind of like work through, find myself, ground myself. I find that easier here than when I'm stuck in my routine, with the people that, I meet on the day-to-day basis in Canada. Like, you come to Thailand, man, everyone greets you with a bow and a smile and like the warmest welcome, of your life. You could sit down at a bar and you can meet 20 people. In Canada, if you sit down at a bar, nobody's saying, hello, what do you want? What can I get you? This, and that. And it's like, oh, what are you drinking? It's like, what do you want from me? Like, it's such a shut off place. And it's just a very difficult place to meet people that I think like that's to me, like, that was the biggest realization, was like, I felt the most alive. I felt like the most like myself. I was the happiest I can even remember ever being the first time I ever took that solo travel trip. And what it told me was, keep doing this. You have to keep doing this. And I don't think there's a lot of people.
That,
but
sorry,
I'll just say COVID that was a huge, because I actually had a big plan afterwards that COVID kind of, like a million other people out there, COVID interrupted. So I kind of had to slowly get back to it. And that's what I've been doing for the last couple of years now is taking, right now I'm in Vancouver 10 months of the year and I'm away for 2. And the only thing that's going to happen is that time away is going to increase, but I cannot see a world where I travel less than 2 months of a year now.
Yeah, it's so important. I think, and you learn, I think you just learn so much about other people and other cultures, but like you mentioned, you learn so much about yourself. Like I find that when I'm traveling, my irritabilities go away. Like what makes me irritable and things that like, just everyday life in Canada, like I don't have that over here. I feel like I'm more grounded. I feel like I'm more in touch with who I am authentically, like you'd said, because it's you're in a different surrounding, and I feel like you're creating what you desire, what you like. And the nice thing about traveling too is if you don't like a certain place, you could leave and you can go find that place that you do connect with. For us, like obviously, like we're gonna go back to Malaysia for like a border run when our visa runs out here, and then renew and come back to Vietnam, just because we like it so much here. Like Da Nang gives that Vancouver vibe because it's like got this nice long boardwalk along the beach. I love hearing those waves crashing and not having to, maybe if I don't want to walk in the sand and I want to run on like concrete, like Vancouver's seawall, but it's got these massive waves crashing, and like it's got like the lush green mountains on the side, and it's got a real like that sense memory comes of like, of safety, because during that pandemic, that my safety net was just running on the seawall, my thoughts, my being, and just like releasing that. And now that I'm here, it's just a different environment. I'm running, I'm releasing, but I'm creative because I'm now thinking about like, wow, like this is so nice. Like, I don't feel like it's a rat race here. I'm just like living this normal life. But I want to talk about like how, what's, with you being, obviously you're not like a digital nomad or an expat. You're somebody that just embraces and loves travel. Now, obviously my podcast, and my background and everything with, being that, remote worker, digital nomad lifestyle, is how many people do you come across when you walk into a coffee shop? How many normal people like you and I are you coming across daily that are just embracing that lifestyle of being free and being able to just go wherever they want, work wherever they want, and go diving, go climb a mountain in Thailand, feed elephants, the whole 9 yards, just things that are like interesting and expressive and just adventurous.
Plenty. I mean, I'm a pretty big coffee guy. Like I'm into like fancy, very like good coffee. So I'm like, no matter where I am, like I'm on the hunt, and it'll take me a day or two, but like I will find it. And I'm mobile here. Like I have a scooter here, and like, yeah, it's like I'm gonna find it. And the thing is like the people that you're talking about, like they normally like that stuff too. So like every time I go into like those cafes, like I'm welcomed with like other people similar to like me, like laptops open. Like when I got to Bangkok, at my hostel alone that I was staying at there, one of the guys that I met from London, his name was AJ, and I remember like we just got to chatting one night. It was my first night there. I met a few people. We just played some cards, had a beer or two, super chill, settling into like this brand new place. And I'm getting tips and tricks about Thailand and everything. The next morning, he's in the exact same spot outside, like beautiful, like little setting, like in, near, I forget the area, but it's in the old town. And he's got split, like dual monitor, like screen set up. And I was like, how's it going? He's like, oh, I'm just working. And he's like, do you want to chill for a minute? I was like, yeah, sure. So I was like, are you sure? He's like, yeah. And like he's got everything set up. He's outside, he's in his area, he's doing his thing. And you come across a lot of people that are living that lifestyle. And I think for me, like the thing was always like, that's got to be difficult. That's got to be hard. And I think what I'm surprised with is how easy it seems. Like people really, really don't seem to be. I mean, I think, depending on where you go, like having a stable Wi-Fi connection is probably like the biggest issue,
Yes,
or a time zone difference depending on where you are. But that's like the only real issues. Otherwise, like, I mean, this guy was having no problem at all getting it done. And I see people on laptops, all the time doing their thing, whatever they're doing. And you and I have talked about like me being able to do that. And who knows, maybe one day, I don't know, but it doesn't really resonate with me. But what does resonate with me is like, I could come back here, say next year, do 3 months of time here, but I could do my dive master course here. I've been invited to do my dive master course here. And then after that, do my IDC and instructor and potentially be offered a job working here. So I'm because I'm a hands-on person. I need to be in the moment, moving things around. That's why I bartend. Like everything I do is I'm not good with computers. Even figuring out this today is like a big thing for me. But having the ability to work, here, it's like I wouldn't get paid as much. That's why you want that like side thing. Maybe I could do voiceovers online or something that I could figure out to supplement my income to be able to be here. But I gotta say, like, it's one of those things where I feel like, I see a lot of like-minded people. I meet a lot of like-minded people, and I'm meeting people from Germany, from the UK, from Australia, from like all these Western countries, places that it's like, well, like, why don't, like, nobody wants to be there. Like, nobody wants to be there. And like, dude, like I go to like I had lunch today for $2.50. Okay. $2.50 for like a fresh chicken sandwich with a side of potato soup. That's like, it's insane. I go to the grocery store in Canada and I'm paying $16, $17, $20 for 2 little chicken breasts. Like this is it's absurd. Like, I mean, like when they tell me here, like 270 baht, I'm like, you trying to rip me off? Like, and we're talking about like $8, like 10, like $8 or $9. And I'm just like, this is outrageous. Like my mindset completely changes where I'm like, $9 like is insane. That's expensive. Like, you guys got to calm down, because I can spend $2.50 here, like $2.50, and have like a wonderful lunch. So it's like, I just feel like, I don't know why I'm working so hard to remain in Canada anymore. It's just not a place that it doesn't feel like home to me anymore. And I want it to, but it just doesn't. And when
it needs a lot of work.
It needs a lot of work. And when I'm in a place like this, or when I'm traveling, or when I'm bouncing around, like, I don't know. I honestly just feel like a lot more at home. Like, I miss my family and I miss those certain little things. But dude, like, I don't miss, like, I find myself when I travel every single time. Like every single time.
I saw it personally. In the Dominican last year. You were in your element, just living your best life and just free spirited and just, not giving a fuck really at the end of the day. You were just somebody who is just like, I'm in this amazing spot right now. And for those of you who like, people don't realize how beautiful the beaches of the Dominican Republic are. Like, it is one of the most beautiful places on planet Earth. And when you are in that moment, like, I feel like if somebody loves the ocean and they're depressed, go spend a month on the beach. You won't be depressed anymore. Those endorphins, the serotonin running through your body is just going to like perk you up, and there's no way you can be. But, and going back to the prices, like, the prices here are absolutely insane. I feel like I'm living in the 90s. It's the prices, like 100,000 dong is just under $6 Canadian, and it's about $3 or $4, give or take, American dollars. And 100 dong is like having a $20 bill. 100,000 dong is like having a $20 bill in Canada or the US. And Like we went for breakfast today, Olga and I. We both had avocado, 2 slices of bread, like sourdough, fresh sourdough bread with like chopped up
Farmhouse.
guacamole. Yeah.
I
You
saw
saw
that.
my
Yeah.
post.
Yeah.
This like scrambled eggs. I've been obsessed with smoothie bowls since being over in Bali and Vietnam, and like fresh smoothie bowls, whether it's like dragon fruit or mango or like cacao, like protein bowls, and it's all fresh. It's made right in front of you with like chia seeds and all these like unbelievable nutritious food. It just looks amazing.
All the
And I
food
remember in Vancouver,
is from
yeah,
there too.
yeah,
All the
it's
food's
from there.
from there. Like it's
They don't
good
import
food.
any. Yeah. The only thing that I buy that's imported is beef. I get Australian beef, but I'll get to that in a moment. And I paid, I think it was just over 10 US dollars for both of us with 2 lattes and that smoothie bowl. In Vancouver, that's at least a $50 to $60 breakfast.
For sure.
Minimum.
Absolutely. And
Minimum.
you each get a coffee, it's 75. Like it's like
It's insane. When you think about it, all this, and then now let's talk about I'll talk about this. Like the only thing I usually buy that's imported is Australian beef, because the beef here can be a little bit more tough. So I buy Australian steaks from a butcher, but I'm paying for an 8-ounce steak. I'm paying $7 Canadian, 455 US dollars for an 8-ounce to 9-ounce steak, and it's grass fed. It's proper. In Canada, they pump their meat full of water. Here they don't. Like it's literally it's fresh. Well, it's not. I wouldn't say it's fresh. It comes in frozen, obviously, because it's imported. But it's
better.
not
It's
the
better.
same.
It's cleaner. It's better for
It's
sure.
way cleaner. And I've been eating like this now since I got back onto my once we got to Da Nang, I started getting back into the Whole Foods eating, and I feel so light. Like I don't feel heavy and lethargic, and I'm able to move my body. I'm able to do the 75 hard and get 2 workouts in, and running. I'm doing 5K almost every day, and it's just and it all comes back to how I'm eating, because it's just everything's cleaner, and the vegetables, they don't import vegetables from out of the country really. Everything's made or grown right here in Vietnam. So because they have it's not necessarily, they don't use pesticides and stuff like that. They don't poison their food, and I don't know about in Thailand, but if you go to a seafood restaurant, do they have the tanks full of fish that you can just pick what fish you want to eat? Because here, if you go to a seafood restaurant, there's literally tanks and tanks of fish, lobsters like this size, king crab, it can't even explain how big it is. You can buy shark, and then they will come and they weigh it, you pay for it, and then you go sit down, and then they prepare all that for you and they bring it to your table. I have yet to do it yet, but it's on the list to go and experience that and pick the item that you want cooked. But I just find that it's literally like ocean to table, every day. It's
Or
just fresh,
ocean
clean.
to ice to table. Like it's literally like what I see a lot is they do have that here. But what I see more commonly is in the front of restaurants, like good restaurants, like nice restaurants, like they advertise obviously like what they got going on, and it's kind of like a fish market. So you could be walking down a main street and see just a bed of ice out front, and all the different and there's some shark. There's a lot of different things, and then a lot of obviously the regular stuff that you're gonna want and find. But it's caught that morning or whenever the case, they bring it, they lay it on the ice and keep it cool and sell it throughout the day. Like everything's very, very fresh here, where you could sit down at a restaurant in Canada, like a nice restaurant, and pay $65 for a plate, at somewhere maybe we would work, and obviously not going to name names, but it's these places, and everything's farmed, everything's frozen, brought in, nothing's, you know, anytime I work in a restaurant where they're like, oh, this one thing is actually like wild, like caught wild. I'm like, I'm not a big fish guy personally, but that's immediately my favorite thing on the menu because I can sell something like that. And I could be like, it's actually caught wild from here. That's like the only dish I'll recommend. Like, what's your favorite thing? I'm like, well, actually, like it's this thing because it's the only thing that I can feature. It's still frozen because it's caught wild, comes from Chile, but like it's a selling feature. And what I'll say is I used to fear food from other countries. Like living in Canada, I would be like, oh no, what if I get sick? And yeah, like you can get, you know, the Bali belly and the things like that. You can get sick. It can happen depending. But like they say, don't eat the street food. Like I spent a week in Chiang Mai. I went to the Sunday night market. I only ate street food. Like it was delicious and cheap. Yeah. And I felt only full and incredible. Like I went to bed at like 8 p.m. because I couldn't move, but like I felt great. And that's the reality of the food.
And how much did you spend? How much did you spend?
Yeah. So like you spend like 20 baht for like a skewer of like their meats and things like that. 20 baht would be like on average 30 baht. Things like that. This is like not even $1 Canadian for like a stick of meat. And it's like the best thing you're ever gonna. But even the things that like we have in Western countries, like banana Nutella crepe. Like I sealed my night in Chiang Mai with a banana Nutella crepe. I think it was 30 baht. This is gonna run you like $8 in Canada minimum, right? So it's and what I'll say is, like I said, I feared food in different countries because I have a sensitive stomach, and I had surgery a year or two ago to remove my gallbladder, which makes me even more sensitive. So what I learned is when I travel is my body does better than when I'm home. So now I fear going home because my skin glows here. I feel good here. I'm not running to the bathroom after a meal every time here. Don't get me wrong. You know, every now and again I'll splurge and have a big feast and I'll be like, okay, that one got me. But like I'll just live my regular routine, have my lunches, have my dinners, and my body is so much more accepting of the food here. Whereas when I go home, I can go to the grocery store, I can get the organic stuff or whatever, but I have a terrible time, like finding food that treats my body well back home. And I could probably look even harder, but then I'm spending even more, and it's not that realistic for me in my lifestyle. Like I could do it, but it's like, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of effort. I go to 8 different farmers markets. Like I should be able to just go to the grocery store and get something that's good for me like I do here. And it's, that easy. And I
don't you notice that the vegetables are just like actual vegetables? And I know like we're talking, it's so crazy, we're spending so much time talking about food, but I think it's so important because it's the thing that fuels us. It's the thing that's the source that, you know, gives us energy. And like if you buy a tomato here, it's actual like what a tomato should look like. It's what a tomato should taste like. I buy pineapple or watermelon. Watermelon here it blew my mind.
Mango.
Absolutely blew my mind. Mangoes, like incredible.
Here. I don't even eat them back.
No, but like you buy them here and you're just like, oh my God, this is like the best thing, the best tasting fruit in the world. But it's because they're grown here. And yes, I understand you're getting them like it's fresh and whatever, but like I just find that like, and I'm not, you know, don't want to get into like the conspiracy talk, but it's like we poison our food with like Monsanto and all those other, like, you know, we're from the prairies, right? So we know how the farmers grow their food and etc. What fertilizer, pesticides, all that stuff. We know that it's not a secret, but we see how it's poisoned, and like anything chemical is just not good for you. And here they don't do that. They don't. Their food is just organic. They don't have to put an organic label because it's just food for them, right? Like there's no such thing as organic because it's just regular food. But like I don't know, I just find that we've kind of gotten to a, you know, when you say that you're more terrified to go home and to eat, you know, or you know, get back into that reality, you're not wrong. I think that it's going to be a huge adjustment because you've gotten used to the way things are here, and I mean, it is, and I'm sure you found that in the Dominican too. Like the Dominican, I found the food pretty clean there too. If you're eating whole foods, it's nice once in a while to go and eat like the deep fried stuff. But there is one thing I actually wanted to go back to because you mentioned some of the foods. One of the things that we like to do, and I'm not doing it right now because I'm on 75 hard, but before we left Kuala Lumpur and everywhere we've gone, we've ate McDonald's everywhere we go. I had it in China. I didn't have it in Bali, but I had it in Kuala Lumpur. But in Kuala Lumpur and in China, it was not greasy, like
Yeah.
zero grease on the food. You open up a cheeseburger in Canada and it's just like dripping down your arm almost. Here, it was so clean. It was tasty. But I would love to see the ingredients in their beef compared to what we use back home, because I can guarantee you it's probably night and day difference. Um, but I don't know. I guess it's still fast food, but I don't know. It was just incredible.
You feel less bad after you have
Yeah.
McDonald's in Thailand. Like
Yeah.
it's simple.
Have you had it in Thailand?
Yeah. Well, it was given to me. Like, because I took.
Yes.
Did I tell you this? Right?
Go ahead.
I was on a
Yes,
night bus.
your
I'll tell this
bus.
really quick, and then we can move on from food. But like, I was on a night bus from Bangkok to Chiang Mai to get to Chiang Mai, and it's $40. It's like a 12-hour journey. So it's like $40, and they include a meal and they give you a water bottle. It's all good. We're just all trying to get to Chiang Mai. But we're wondering, like, where are they getting this food from? Like, what are we doing? Like, we're an hour down the road. We're in the middle of nowhere on the outskirts of Bangkok. And I see the golden arches of McDonald's, like, kind of into the distance. And I'm like, oh, crazy McDonald's. And then we stop on the side of the road, like, in front of the McDonald's. And I'm just kind of thinking, like, are they letting us out here to, like, get McDonald's or something? Because there's nothing else really. Like, what are we doing? This lady comes out of McDonald's with like a massive, like, Rubbermaid bin, like huge bin, like full, like, and she's like carrying it to the bus. And the guy gets off the bus. He takes it from her. He comes back onto the bus. We kind of start driving again. He's walking down the aisle with the lid off, and he's like, free, free, free. Like, it's like, this is your meals. Everyone take one. And it was a little McChicken. Little McChicken sandwich, like, from McDonald's, was our free meal to get to Chiang Mai. But honestly, like, yeah, that was me that was just such a weird scenario. But to be honest, yeah, I felt the same thing. Like, it was, I mean, it was good. Like, I mean, I don't think even when it's super greasy, you're like, McDonald's, like, hits the spot sometimes, but it makes you feel terrible afterwards. And here it was a lot cleaner. You could just tell it was a lot cleaner. I didn't have to, like, worry about laying out napkins on it's not like I'm at a table. Like, I could just open it up, take the thing out and eat it. It was cleaner. It wasn't wet. Like, it was just better for you. And you felt better after. It's still McDonald's. It's still a fried chicken patty, but the chicken is cleaner. Like, all these things, are better. But anyway, that was my actual only funny time thing having McDonald's here. But
yeah,
you
should try having it when you go back to Bangkok. Just do it and just, like, indulge yourself. It's as a kid, it's always, I'm not going to tell you to eat unhealthy either, but, like, it's, as a kid, you love having that thing. And, I don't eat it very often. And, since we've come traveling, it's like, hey, let's see how different it is. And then we were in Kuala Lumpur, and it was like, holy crap. So now we're like, okay, well, we have to try it everywhere now. If we're not doing 75 hard, we will do it. And we'll try it again. But, to kind of maybe move things along. I mean, you mentioned, obviously, like, traveling's been big into your family. I've met your parents. Your parents are lovely people. When we were in the Dominican, they spend their winters down there. They're expats, really. They're snowbird expats. And I've listened to their travel stories of, traveling around the world in their retirement. So the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, because they love adventure and you love adventure. Now, how much of that do you think that rubbed off on you? Because you kind of traveled with them quite a bit growing up, I think, from what I remember, because they've gone to, they have a place in the Dominican and they spend their winters there, which is a beautiful place to spend. So yeah, they've got that expat, lifestyle themselves on the retirement side. Do you think that a part of you is happy that you're doing it now and enjoying this lifestyle like more now. And then, not saying that they're not doing it wrong because they're living their best life. But and then kind of getting that out of your system where you can pass that on to your generations as you get older.
Yeah, I think, when I was a kid growing up, I don't want to say like struggled or anything. We didn't struggle. It's just we were like a single income family, and it wasn't like the most income, but it was fine. It's just like, it was kind of like, we got the odd present as kids, and, we could only go to movies, on the Toonie Tuesday when it was cheap. And instead of getting popcorn and stuff, like we would stop at the gas station and get 5-cent candies and like pass it around. Like, still very fortunate, right?
Yeah.
But I mean,
100%.
But I mean, it wasn't like, you could just pick what you want. Like, we would go to McDonald's and all three of us had to share a pop. Like, it was still very fortunate. But my parents' idea as we got older of travel was like an all-inclusive vacation. So we would go, it was like, okay, well, now then my dad furthered his career a little bit and worked really hard. He could afford to take us on a trip, which was an amazing luxury. And it was an all-inclusive always, because that was his idea of travel. We'd be floating in the water of Puerto Vallarta at a resort, and my dad would be like, well, some people are shoveling snow, but we're out here, and isn't that pretty cool? And so we did that a lot, and that kind of, to me, it was kind of like, do you guys want, like a couple of presents, or would you like to go away this year? Because we're going to do something for you guys, as like 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds. And I feel like a lot of kids would be like, presents. Whereas our answer turned into, we want to go somewhere, because like we had experienced that at a young age, just even though it was all inclusive and whatever the case, it was just a little taste of something. What I'll say is I think if you ask my parents, kind of actually more rubbed off on them.
Interesting.
I was the one who, as we got older in teenage years, we would still occasionally do the trip as a family. And I'd be like, I'm going to take my brothers out. We're going to go into Cuba and just kind of explore. My mom would be like, what? Like, leave the resort? And I was like, it's fine. It's fine. It's going to be fine. Like, and I was kind of like that person that I think inspired them. And I'll never forget it. My dad said to me one day when I really got into traveling, and they were kind of half retired at this point, living in the Dominican still. And they do that. They're there a lot of the time. But my dad said to me one day, he was like, it's just crazy. I'm just so proud of, your ability to just put yourself into new situations and explore, the world. And he's like, yeah, you're half my age and you've seen more places in the world than me, and that really hit me, being like, wow, like, he's not wrong. Like, I have, and I'm really seeing them, and fast forward, my dad's like, we're booking a cruise to Europe, to Norway, to this and that. And their idea is, they get on the cruise, they have their comfortability, their stability and all that. But then they get off and they get to do a tour that day, or they get off, they get to walk around and see a new place that day. So I had another conversation with my dad, fast forward years later, and he's like, I'm catching up to you. And I'm like, I think we have a little bit different ideas of travel, but that's okay. If your version of travel and your version of seeing new places in the world and getting out of Canada or getting into new places is a cruise, and you're a little older, that's great. That's fine. Like, you're happy and it ignites joy, fine. For me, that wouldn't work. Like, I can't, be on a cruise ship and this and that. I got to immerse myself in the culture and the people and the place. And I got to dig my heels in. I can even bounce around from hostel to hostel, and that's an amazing time. But I got to dig my heels into a place. Like right now, I go to a coffee shop every single day because I'm a coffee guy. It's the best coffee shop here. And they would take my order. And after the first few days, it just turned into same.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, same. So it's like,
Same.
I'm a regular.
So I want to ask you
here.
Do they, in the coffee shops, do they have, like, so there's a thing here in Vietnam that's really, really popular. And I had it before 75 Hard, because it's a little bit of more of a cheap coffee. But do they have the egg coffee in Thailand? Have you heard of that? The infamous egg coffee.
I
Oh my
haven't. I
God.
mean,
It is
I'm sure
literally,
if it's a
it's
Southeast Asian thing, I'm sure it exists, but it's like
like,
I'm an espresso guy, so I don't order anything but espresso. I don't know.
it's like an espresso, but they make it with with an egg yolk, and it sounds crazy, but
I was insane.
you ever have those chocolate bars, the crunchy chocolate bars that are got like the
Yeah,
almost like the sponginess in the middle,
yeah.
and that flavor, that's what it tastes like because they put it on a fire and they bring it to you, and it's got like a candle underneath that's keeping the cup warm, and it's got like the egg and got some condensed milk, but it creates this foam on top, and it is like the best thing. But it's not the healthiest because it's sweetened sugar because they use condensed milk. So I had heard about it before I got here, and I had to have it, and I've had it twice. But then we obviously started 75 hard, and I haven't had it since. But they make some of the most unique coffees here, and yeah,
They
it's
do. They make a
incredible.
lot of. It's very like for coffee lovers. Anyone listening that loves coffee, go to Chiang Mai. Go to Chiang Mai in
Yeah,
Thailand and have some of the best coffee that the world has to offer. And I'm not even joking. Like, I know what I'm talking about. And there's a couple of shops there. Like, it is the coffee scene there is another level. Um, the coffee, everything's it's great here for sure. And I think that I often think to myself when I travel, like, well, it's not going to be good as Canada. It's not going to be as good as we do it in Canada. And I'm very often surprised. Like when I was coming to Thailand, I thought I was coming to a third world country. Thought people were going to be living in huts on the side of the road. I don't mean that negatively. I just mean that that's my own naivete of being, a kid from Canada. And God, do they got it going on over here. Like Bangkok is one of the most beautiful cities I've ever seen. It gets a bad rap, but I mean, it's stunning and it's beautiful. There's not even a piece of garbage this big on the street. Nowhere. People will like
it's
every
crazy.
morning wake up and clean everything and polish everything and everything's modern and beautiful. And the way of life here is just it's a lot more simple and it's a lot
Yes.
easier, but they have all the same luxuries like in places like that. Obviously there's certain places, but like I couldn't find one thing, that I can't find in Bangkok that I like can't find in Canada. I could find in Bangkok. It's or Chiang Mai, and
Yeah.
these are very, very developed and amazing places. Even here in Koh Tao, I'm on a tiny little island. There's 3 little parts to it. You could drive around the whole thing in probably 12 minutes, not even, and got everything you need. They've got a bunch of amazing, beautiful restaurants. They've got supermarkets, shops, great coffee shops, everything. I mean, I just think my naivete is like, if I'm going anywhere other than a first world country, like, it's not going to be the same. It's not going to have everything you need. And
Yeah.
I'm surprised every single time I travel, at just how developed the places that I thought weren't are.
And you know what? And I think that's the ignorance of, and I'll hold my hand up high on this one. That's the ignorance of how we were, what our education system is, and you know, we're made to believe that our Western world is the way of life. But since I've been over here, I don't see very many local people unhappy. I think they
All
just live.
smiles. It's all smiles all the time. And it's so much easier to be happy in a space where happiness lives. And I'm not trying to sound corny when I say it. Like I mean that like wholeheartedly. Like when I'm here, I feel like the only unhappy person that I see sometimes is the one lady that works at the 7-Eleven. Like she's just a little next person, but it's like like you're greeted with a smile, like everyone, like just people passing by. Like I've seen one of the things that bothers me the most in the world and has bothered me a lot in this trip is an ignorant Westerner being rude and disrespectful to someone here. And it makes my blood boil because to be rude to somebody here, to disrespect someone or raise your voice to someone here, you have no idea how rude that is for them, like in their culture. Like we can do that to each other in Canada, whatever, who cares? But you don't do that to people here because their culture,
No.
it is such a show of disrespect and I have literally seen it happen. And and like just I am like, oh, I just want to like
I know.
it is the most brutal because people here, man, they only want to be kind to you and they are really happy. People are just so much happier here. It's so much easier to wear a smile here than it is like, in Canada. And that's like, we talk about that a lot. And I just,
Yeah.
like I have 1,000,001 people that I know here already. I've got a lovely community here already of people that I'm going to be sad to say goodbye to. And I'm going to be going back to a community that I feel like I half know everybody and I feel like everybody half knows me. And the reality is I feel like a very misunderstood person by most people. And I could probably count on one hand, like the amount of people that like genuinely know me. Whereas here it's just so much easier to be to be understood. Whereas like back home, it's harder to be happy and you really gotta fight for it. You gotta figure it out on a day to day. And like my big thing every time I travel for a length of time like this is, all right, how do I hold on to this? Because I come back to Canada and I've got like a rock climber grip on that joy and that happiness that I want to like continue to feel and that I want to be spread a little bit and be able to show a little bit. Like we work at a restaurant in like the richest suburb of all of Canada in West Vancouver. The amount of people, like the amount of entitlement that you see that come in and like they just got no clue what's going on in any other, place in the world. And they're so ignorant. And even I get a little caught up in that sometimes. And it's hard. I got to be like, whoa. Like, no, that's not you. No, that's not you. Like hold on to that simplicity. Hold on to that kindness. Like, even if it's not coming to you, you can still give it. You know what I mean? And it's hard. It's hard. But people here, man, like they make it easy. Like I can go to any restaurant. I know 3 or 4 different people that work there. I pretend to do Muay Thai fights with the one server at this restaurant. And, I hug the one person when I go to this restaurant. People are just happy here. And it's a real joy to be around. It's probably,
it is.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about it's just, the people and the way of life here is everyone's happy.
Yeah. And I think and just even to go back to like, when you mentioned that you kind of thought it was a third world country and you go to Bangkok and it's this beautiful city. And it's like, I had that same feeling about Kuala Lumpur. It's like, you get there and you realize like this city is so advanced and it's not expensive. We went to a restaurant that was like an upscale style restaurant, like you would go to in Vancouver downtown. And there was just so much, the vibe of it was just so amazing. You walk in and it's like the servers were just so genuine. And I felt like you had real, proper, like genuine conversations with the servers. Like they actually really cared about, you and giving you proper, like excellent service. It wasn't fake. Like you get that, like, when your server comes up to you, hi guys, what can I get for you? And then as soon as she's done or they're done talking, whether it's a man or a woman, their face goes back into like stoic mode where they're just like, and then they walk away, right? Like, but they were genuinely like interested of like, oh, where are you from? Like I'm like, oh, you're Canadian or you're Irish, and you actually have a genuine conversation and they want to learn about you. And the best part is because English isn't their first language, they want to practice their English with you. And the amount of times that I've been approached here in Vietnam of somebody coming up to me and saying like, hey, do you speak English? And I'm like, yeah, like, oh, where are you from? And like, they want to like have that conversation because they're so excited to practice that skill that they're learning. And it does warm my heart, and it takes you back and you realize like, am I grateful that I grew up in a Western country? 100%. But I'm also fortunate to come to a place like this that brings me back down a little bit and realize like how fortunate we are. And when I look at that and I look back on that, I see that we've taken that for granted. And I think a lot of people take it for granted from where we were grown up and where we were born and raised and the lifestyle that we were given. We've been given opportunity. And I think to bring a lot of people should go travel, leave their baggage at the door, go create a new persona of yourself, and go and explore and learn something about another culture. And it'll humble you to the point where you go back to your own country and you'll realize, like, you know what, like, I'm lucky, but I'm also fortunate that I got to go to this country and they taught me so much about myself. And I've got way more compassion for other people now. And I think that that's one of the things that I see. And I think that I've experienced myself.
Yeah. Even wanting to, I mean, we should be the happiest people in the world in Canada with all, you know, everything that we have that's available to us and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, we could talk for ages about how broke Canada is, because it is. But the reality is we still have so many luxuries and things available to us that other people, like, people fight to be, you know, in the position that we're in, to have the passport that we hold. And what's just absolutely mind-boggling to me is, how are we not all the most happy people in the world? Because
it is mind-boggling.
Yeah. So, and those people that are waiting on you at those restaurants and happy and smiling, asking questions, and like genuinely like hustling and like doing their job.
Yeah.
They're not getting tipped like you are either in a Western country. Like, they're not making the kind of money that you're making. And a lot of times what I see in Thailand is everything's shared. So it's a little bit of like a tip type situation, but it's not a common thing. Like, I tip everywhere I go because, like, that's how I make my money. To me, it feels wrong not to. But it's not like a you must tip in Thailand. That's what you do. Like, people do, but it's like, it's not enforced. It's not a common thing. And when you give a tip in Thailand, they're a little more like thank you so much. Like, wow, like, oh wow, like, that's for me. So it's definitely a little more rare. And so that person that's hustling, like, wanting you to have a good experience in their country at a restaurant they work for, none of this is fake, because they're not getting anything additional out of having that conversation. And if you happen to give them a little bit of money, they're overjoyed about that. Like, it's just because it's not an expectation.
They're not used to it.
They're not as used to it. Like in the States, I could give you the worst service in the world, or in Canada, the worst service in the world. And there's a part of me that's like, well, you better still at least hit me with a 15, bro. Like, I mean,
Exactly.
if it was bad service, like, hit me with a 15. Whereas, like, I genuinely feel like if I really gave you terrible service, you're cool. You have my permission not to tip me. But like, if I'm wheeling and dealing and I'm giving you the best service of your life, if you're not hitting the 20 button, something's wrong. And like, I will be upset about it. Like, we would be upset about it. Anybody listening to this who works in the service industry is like going to be like, hell yeah. Like, if I gave you the best, like, hit the 20, hit the 22. So it's like, these people they're giving you everything, man. They're giving you everything.
Yeah. And
just cause.
Yeah. And it's true. And I think that, you know, that's one of the biggest lessons I've had since coming over here, is just, you see how much compassion and how much pride that the people have. And, you know, I think, to head to wrap this up, I'd love to even see if you had any questions for me, if something that you'd want to know, or that you think that the audience could benefit from, as somebody who's, like I said, not a nomad or an expat, that would like to, know something. If you don't, that's totally fine. And, just thought I'd give you the floor there.
Think for me, it's more, I think I understand pretty well, I guess, how everything works, how you, like, I've seen you kind of like ground up almost, like, kind of make, cause like we worked together in a restaurant. That's how we met.
Yeah.
Before you have pursued this entire, and completely different lifestyle. So I think I've actually gotten a really good glimpse. I don't have too many questions, but, I guess maybe a comment would be, obviously I'm not, the next day, nomad guy who's been doing this for 5 years, whatever the case, and all that kind of stuff. But what I will say is, like, if you're somebody like me who feels a little stuck, feels a little bit like unhappy, or feels a little bit like there's something else out there, or there's that place that you really want to go and you want to spend a month, or you want to, but it's the rational part that goes like, oh, that's crazy, or oh, you'd better not. If you're someone like me, who's at the very beginning of, maybe this journey or what this new life could look like, you gotta do it. You gotta ask questions. You gotta find a way to make it happen, because it's probably the greatest gift you'll ever give yourself. I just think that there's a whole world out there, and like my only fear now is not having enough time to see as much of the things that I want to see. And maybe, like I say, maybe one day being able to get to a point where I'm still, in Canada for 6 months, but I'm away and working a little more remotely, and I'm traveling for the other 6 months. So, also understanding that your path doesn't have to be 365 traveling and working. Your path can look a little more like mine, and baby steps. Who knows? I have no idea where I'm going to end up. I have no idea where I'm off to next. But what I do know is that the most happy I've ever felt in my life, the most joy I have ever felt, the most sense of identity that I've ever had has been when I'm traveling and meeting new people, or when I'm writing or I'm on set and I'm getting to act and do the thing that I love. So it's a very difficult balance with having to be home to do that thing and also be away to get the other thing. I feel like I'm always kind of pulled one way or another to experience that. So maybe my life does look like 6 months, who knows. But
who knows? It's possible.
If you're someone like me who just loves this stuff, and you've got an aching to try it or an aching to want to do it, or you're somebody that you're like, oh, I actually do work remote. I could fully work remote if I wanted to, but the idea of travel and just getting out of my comfort zone scares me. Oh my God, do it. If you want it and it is scary, if it scares you, but it's exciting,
you got to do it.
What have you got to lose? Give it 6 months, pick a place you want to go try it. Because I promise you, there's a lot of people out there. I'm not even doing it. And I meet digital nomads, expats every single day, everywhere that I go, that are also going to be happy to, give you some advice or, throw you a bone here and there and talk to you about their experience. You're only going to meet other people like you when you do this. So
exactly. You're going to meet your future self is what you're going to meet, that person that you aspire to be. And yeah, amen to that, because I think that, and I appreciate that too. I think that's a really good advice to people, is that just go for it. You just don't know. You literally don't know. And I couldn't agree more, is you're not. And again, that goes back to the quote of today, is 20 years from now, you'll be more disappointed by the things you didn't do, than by the things that you did. It's true. It's 100% true. There's things in my life that I didn't do when I was younger that I regret. There's things that I've given up on that I regret. But one thing that I'm not going to regret is actually making and taking action on something that has changed my life for the better. Zach, man, this has been so good. I also want to invite the audience to follow you on social media, because you're posting some really cool videos of your scuba diving experience, like that whale shark that you were swimming with the other day, which was incredible footage. So just let us know where the audience, where we can connect with you, and, they can, maybe they want to ask questions hey, where did you go scuba diving? And if somebody's that's their way into this lifestyle, that's a great outlet.
Yeah, it's definitely, I've had a lot of really cool experiences, most of them underwater, here. And yeah, I'm not a big Instagram, guy. I've got it. I post some fun stuff. It's mainly for me. So if you want to throw me a follow, you're more than welcome. If you don't, that's fine by me too. I'm not trying to grow anything personally, but it's just my name, and I'm sure that's going to be somewhere in this video. So I'll be there. And any underwater questions or just travel questions, I'll try to get back to you in a timely manner.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And obviously I'll have it linked down in the show notes, but yeah, man, this has been awesome. I know that, I met you, well, not met you. I met you a long time ago when we were in the Dominican together. I was putting this whole plan into fruition about the NextDay Nomad podcast. And, here we are a year later.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Literally, we were in the Dominican a year ago. Like, it's wild, man. Like, we were in the Dominican a year ago, living our best life on the beach. Yeah, here we are. So I just want to say thank you for coming on. I want to do this again at some point. And, it's just good to have that perspective from people because, like, I'm an everyday guy. You're an everyday guy. You're not at that stage of being a nomad or an expat yet, but I think that those are valid questions because you come at it from a different angle that I think the everyday person can relate to. So I really appreciate that. And, but yeah, I just also want to just let everybody know to thank you for tuning in, week after week to this podcast. It's growing slowly. It's getting there, and we're creating action every week. So I appreciate everything that, is happening in this podcast. And just want to let you know too, I've got a free course out there that will help you decipher and get through the discovery of your skill sets and what you can do in building that skills journey for yourself and discover what it takes to, start a business or find a remote job. It's called Mindset to Momentum. And first module is all about that mindset and just developing that strengthening aspect of your life where you can conquer and face those fears and just challenge yourself beyond what you actually think you can. And then number 2 is just uncovering those skills and really going through every job that you've gone through in your life and writing down those skills that you have had at those jobs and assessing your skill level at those skills, but then also aligning your passions and your hobbies, because I feel like we don't want to work. We want to actually do things that we're passionate about. And we don't want to slave away for 8 to 10 hours a day on something that doesn't, light a fire under our ass. So that's number 2. And then number 3 is I've listed the top 10 digital service-based businesses out there and all the skills that are required. And then you can now go and cross-reference and showcase yourself and prove to yourself that you're actually closer than you think. And then you can align that business and see if you can implement that hobby, that passion, that skill into that business that actually makes it unique for yourself. So that's a free course. I offer that 100% free. There's no obligation. The link is in the show notes. Please join. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. You have my socials down below as well. The NextDay Nomad on Instagram, the Jared Evan on Instagram, and reach out. I'd love to have that conversation. Just remember, everybody, be brave, be bold, and we'll see you on the road. Cheers.